in honor of our great veterans on Veterans Day, we pledge to you that we will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country.
On multiple occasions on Veterans Day, Donald Trump echoed Adolf Hitler in a series of attacks against his political opponents, implying they are more dangerous than any outside forces and compared them to vermin. Now, let's be very clear about what's happening here. This is not a coincidence. This is not Donald Trump accidentally saying something that sounds a little bit like Hitler from a Hitler speech. This is word-for-word replication of material that was used by Adolf Hitler before, during, and after the extermination of 6 million Jews. On Veterans Day, Donald Trump chose to post, "In honor of our great veterans, we pledge to you that we will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country, lie, steal, and cheat on elections, and will do anything possible, whether legally or illegally, to destroy America and the American dream. The threat from outside forces is far less sinister, dangerous, and grave than the threat from within. Despite the hatred and anger of the radical left lunatics who want to destroy our country, we will make America great again." So let's be clear of the similarities in the language. Now, it's been widely reported that Donald Trump has read Hitler's speeches. Some even say he has studied them and would keep a copy of these speeches next to his bed. I can't imagine him studying anything particularly, but there is clear copycat language. And this speech was prepared. This speech was on the auto cue. When he was reading the teleprompter, he was reading verbatim phrases and rhetoric that Adolf Hitler said in his own speeches.
The threat from outside forces is far less sinister, dangerous, and grave than the threat from within. Our threat is from within, because if you have a capable, competent, smart, tough leader, Russia, China, North Korea, they're not going to want to play with us. And they didn't.
Just to quote, "I will get rid of the communist vermin," is what Adolf Hitler said. "I will get rid of the communist vermin," is what Donald Trump said, like for like. Hitler said, "I will take care of the enemy within." Trump said, "I will take care of the threat from within," effectively the same thing. Hitler said Jews and migrants are poisoning Aryan blood. Trump said migrants are poisoning the blood of our country. And finally, Hitler said one people, one realm, one leader. Trump said one people, one family, one glorious nation. Donald Trump has spoken many times before about this white replacement theory, or the great replacement theory, as Tucker Carlson would call it on his show. He'd talk about having good genes and, this kind of bloodline was something that's very important to him. A terrifying notion, the idea that this is something that Donald Trump is interested in, that he believes that white people are superior. He is a white supremacist. So much of his rhetoric, so much of his language, so many of the things he's said, both in speeches and off the cuff over the last 7 or 8 years, have not just hinted at this, but increasingly are clear and provide clarity about who he is and who he really cares for. And now, as his back is against the wall and as his cases, these multiple cases, 4 indictments, 91 charges, as they begin to kind of put pressure on him, instead of kind of changing direction and going, okay, well, this is the situation, so I need to kind of tone it down a bit to appease the judges and to appease the DAs and to appease the prosecutors. No, he's ramping it up. He is turning up the heat. He is choosing to become increasingly extreme and fascist in his language and in his views. And if anyone has read Project 2025, it's nearly 1,000 pages of a manifesto for change to rebuild the U.S. government in Donald Trump's image if he were to win in November 2024. It is absolutely clear that involving this Christo-fascist and neo-Nazi and extremist rhetoric is very much part of the plan. I keep saying, you have to decide what kind of America you want to live in. And tragically, at the moment, Donald Trump is celebrating evil dictators, claiming that someone like Viktor Orban from Hungary is a great leader, and there's no crime there because he's so strong. Are his supporters even questioning the reason? I mean, there is plenty of crime in Hungary, of course, but Viktor Orban is a autocrat, an authoritarian, and by any other standards, a far-right and extreme dictator. And these are the people that Trump is looking up to, whereas before he kind of flirted with it, now it is overt. He is saying it, he is celebrating it, and he is making it absolutely clear the kind of leader he will be, full of retribution and hatred towards any groups that have wronged him, any groups that don't agree with him, and any groups that cross him. And as the heat is increasing in the Middle East, and the anti-Semitic events that we read about are happening, hate crime are happening all over the world, Donald Trump is seizing on this moment to claim that during his presidency there was no war, there was no violence, there was no drama. And of course he is lying, because if you look back, you look at the protest, if you look at the feeling of distrust and the anger of the people because of Trump's policies. He's already said he will bring back the Muslim ban, something he did in the first week of his first term, banning Muslims from entering the United States. They haven't committed crimes. These people are law-abiding. These people are just being persecuted for their faith, something that the United States should never and hopefully will never do again. And so, Donald Trump is now beginning to represent the very worst aspects of humanity and the very worst characters in history. And that is who he has become. Some argue he's always been that guy, but, he wore a lot of it on the inside. Now he's very much wearing it on the outside. And the commentators are referring to this criticism, saying that Trump is using Hitler's rhetoric in his speeches. The right-wing media have their own ideas. The right-wing media are claiming that, Hillary Clinton called people deplorables. I mean, how is that any different?
Hillary Clinton called her opponents deplorables at one point, so there's language on both sides.
Referring to people as deplorables and Donald Trump referring to minorities as vermin is a very different thing. Hitler didn't refer to people as deplorables. Deplorables is a comparatively gentle term than comparing humans to rats. And so, unfortunately, a lot of the history has been lost in translation, but also in time. And that people who read history, remember history, have relations that were involved in saving Europe from fascism, will have a much greater understanding of why this moment is so important. A person such as Donald Trump, a former president, is able to get up and make these speeches and under the guise of free speech not seem to care about the people that are being affected, and the fact that the use of Nazi language is only going to bring the Nazis out of the shadows. And as we've seen in Florida, Nazi rallies with swastikas and people who are so anti-democracy and anti-multiculturalism and multi-faith and that separation of church and state, reinterpreted by Speaker Mike Johnson to not have any value. And so the country is at yet another crossroads. The choice isn't between Trump and Biden. The choice is between freedom and fascism. The opportunity to allow the country to thrive with every type of person, every type of faith, every type of belief system, and having the right to do that and keeping that separate from politics. Or what the MAGA Republicans are increasingly starting to offer, which is that if you're not a white and Christian nationalist Trump supporter, then you are not deserving of a place in American society.
We will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country.
I'm Anthony Davis. You can hear me every day on the 5 Minute News podcast. Download it wherever you get yours and have me tell you what's happening around the world while you make your morning coffee. You can also catch my videos, my explainer videos, and my weekend show long-form interview program here on the 5 Minute News YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe, but also don't forget to join. And by clicking join, from just $2.99 a month, you can become part of the 5 Minute News community. Join me for live Q&As and communicate with me whenever you like as an exclusive member of 5 Minute News.